Welcome back, everybody, to week number 5 of Stage 2 of the Quake Pro League. The next matchup is going to be Rapha versus Effortless. It's going to be quite a match for Effortless, I think. This is an opportunity for him to see how far he's been able to come throughout the course of Stage 2. Getting a map win versus Rapha would be great. Getting a win against Rapha would be even better. My name is Ketchup, joined by Flea on the desk. What are we expecting to see here?
I mean, when it comes from Effortless, I think we're looking at probably a more aggressive, a faster game. But Rapha, of course, is one of the most disciplined players in the entire league. He knows how to read his opponent just about as good as anyone at the professional level. So he can very easily counter that aggression or that speed that we might see coming out of Effortless. Last time these two players went up against each other was at QuakeCon, in which Rapha won 2-0. So Effortless clearly wants to settle and even the score by now.
By this stage, Rapha is a player that needs no introduction. He's one of the greatest Quake players that has ever existed in history and all that stuff. It's just his brain, right? You know, the name Professor, it comes with great meaning. He has this scientist mind that I think is just unmatched by any player out there. There is so much experience both on how he understands Quake as a game, no matter what Quake it is, but also how he approaches the player versus player aspect. No one map of Quake is the same. It entirely depends on who you're against. That is extremely scary, and there's no wonder I think that he's been the most devastating player in the Americas so far.
I mean, he had an extremely good 2018, right? He's won so many tournaments. 2v2, his team, Team Liquid, is absolutely undefeated. But then also when it comes to duel, he's an incredibly accomplished player as well. One of the greatest of all time, as you just mentioned. And I mean, you could just see it in his highlight reel, right? Was there any game in which he wasn't in the lead when he was playing and just completely fragging his opponent to bits? He was pretty much always leading by a significant margin, and that says everything there is to know about Rapha.
So up next, it's Effortless, who, like many of the players in the Americas, he's just been on a steady climb, it feels. There's been some great weeks from him where he's just turned up and just had some miracle games and some series wins that maybe people haven't expected of him in the past. Stage 2 is the continuation of that. There's no getting around the fact that going up against Rapha, it's probably going to be the hardest match that he's having to play throughout the entirety of this stage. And we'll see how he fares.
Yeah. So far, he's actually had a pretty decent Stage 2. He lost to the Hang, sure, but the Hang is also, by a pretty significant margin, the second best player in the entirety of the Americas. But after that, he's beaten Genic, and I believe he's also beaten Chain. So he's had a pretty good track record for the second stage so far.
There's always the questions about how we think things are going to go. We have got the picks and bans, and while we're having a chat about this, we'll obviously see it on the screen and have a bit of a look soon. But yeah, fundamentally, this is Effortless, who's been steadily improving, like a lot of players from this part of the world, going up against the undisputed greatest player of that part of the world.
Yeah.
So a map win is a great starting point for him. The victory is always going to be on his side, and if he can defeat Rapha this week, it's a massive upset throughout the weekly period.
Absolutely.
We'll see if it's possible.
I mean, Rapha so far undefeated throughout Stage 2. Extremely dominant fashion as well, winning most of his games 3-0. I believe last time around he did drop one map against Dramas, that was the first one he's lost in Stage 2. So obviously all eyes are on him, and I think that if I was a betting man, I would also place my chips on Rapha too.
Prediction-wise, I mean, score. Do we think it's safe to assume a 3-0? Because the thing is, Rapha losing a map last week, it always proves that gods bleed, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That no one player is safe from losing a map. And that's just the way it goes at this level of competition. You know, we cannot forget that the Quake Pro League is the combination of the greatest players collectively from these parts of the world all mashed up in one package. So Rapha, he's going to lose a map eventually. Yeah. The question I'm always got in my mind is, can he lose a series? Because right now, that's only happened in Luca.
Yeah, I mean, and when he did lose in Luca, that was against Cypher, his age-old rival.
And that was just Cypher's tournament, man. Up until he eventually lost himself, but...
Yeah, but yeah, your comments are absolutely correct. Are we going to see Rapha even drop a single map today? I think the odds are stacked firmly against Effortless today. But obviously, Rapha himself, he's not invulnerable. He has his weaknesses. He might be missing quite a few shots. Effortless can take him by surprise. So this can definitely still go Effortless's way.
Okay, so it's Awoken first. Effortless doing what we're kind of familiar with. He loves the high-speed champions. He really loves having movement speed behind him. The Doom gets picked by Rapha. Corrupted Keep. Actually, first time we're going to be seeing Corrupted Keep today. Ranger is selected by Effortless. And the Keel, actually, picked by Rapha. Another Keel map that we used to see, a little bit more reminiscent of the 2v2 days. And then the final map, Blood Run, Nyx versus Sorlag, and Scalebearer was removed.
I mean, Scale is a very powerful champ. On Blood Run, of course, so much stack, so much speed that he can generate basically instantly to get out of so many tricky situations. So it's no surprise that he was banned, and Rapha instead going for the Nyx. He's got the Ghost Walk, he's got the double jump, very useful on that map. But he's gotta go up against a champion that's outstacking him by an absolute ton, that has the air control, the movement speed, and the spit. So that's going to be a difficult one for sure.
It's going to be quite high octane, I imagine. Rapha, he's going to have to play extremely carefully because, one wrong play or one wrong time of getting caught with the Ghost Walk when it's not available, and Sorlag's going to stomp all over you in those situations. But yeah, just a collection of maps. It's good to see some Corrupted Keep again. I'm exceptionally excited, actually, to see what Rapha can pull out of the hat with that one, thanks to the Keel pick.
Yeah.
So I think we're seeing Keel a little bit more today than we mostly see ever. So I'm excited.
Second time around. So
in a row? What is this? Christmas came early? Like, come on.
Absolutely. And this time it's up against the Ranger. And that's also an interesting matchup because, of course, Ranger has the orb. The bigger the target he's aiming at, the easier it is for him to do a lot of damage. And Keel, obviously, he's a chunky guy, right? That might open up some avenues of assault for Effortless.
Well, we're moments away from finding out. Thanks for sticking with us so far. Just to remind you, this is week number 5 of our Stage 2 for Quake Pro League, the ongoing weekly broadcasts, which have been changed to what we know as Round Robin. Everyone now plays off against everyone. It's a change in format from the first stage, and that's now why, Rapha's essentially just kind of running this cycle, and he has to go through every opponent in the Americas. And on a personal note, I much prefer that because I love this idea now that we get to see how every single opponent in this part of the world fares up against Rapha. There were some situations where we would barely see it, or maybe we wouldn't really see it.
Yeah.
But this time round, it's every single person, they have to be tested. They've got to go up against that final boss.
And I mean, everything is building up, I feel like, to the final week, because then it's Rapha versus the Hang, the teammates going up against each other. And I feel like a lot of people are under the impression that if anyone is going to take out Rapha and actually beat him, it's going to be the Hang. And that will be in the 10th week of the second stage. That's when those two players are going to go head to head, and that is going to be one match you don't want to miss.
But for Rapha to allow that story to exist, he's got to be undefeated.
Yeah.
He's got to be undefeated going into this. And Dahang is another player that we're trying to see how long he can keep maybe a winning streak, or how well can he do. Because we know Dahang versus Saigib later today. That's one of our final matches, if not the final match. That's also interesting today. I'd say that Dahang and Rapha are two players that we're going to always be watching, but on a personal, I think Dahang versus Saigib is one that I'm really, really excited for, to kind of see, how that's developed. We'll talk about that a little bit more later today because it's not relevant now, but yeah, if Effortless can get this win versus Rapha, that's going to take his confidence and it's just going to shoot it through the roof, I think.
I mean, as it should, right? And as I mentioned at the start, he actually has had a pretty decent stage 2, winning 2 out of his 3 games so far. So maybe if he can continue riding that high and take Rapha by surprise, because that is one of the few weaknesses that Rapha has. When you watch his stream and you follow his socials, it's one of the things that sometimes he just really gets taken by surprise, and an opponent does something that he really feels like that shouldn't be working right now. That is not the most tactical decision, but maybe just because he's not expecting it, because it is so unconventional, so unorthodox, it actually can work. And I think that Effortless playing these really high octane, these fast champions such as the Slash, he can come out and make something happen.
Anyone that has watched Rapha's streams for Quake, which I'm going to assume is everyone watching the stream right now.
As they should.
Everyone. Like, Rapha has the biggest stream, really. Everyone has heard the catchphrase of, "I can't believe he did that." How many times do you watch Rapha when he's scrimming against somebody and he's playing practice games against other players, and there's a moment where he's waiting around a corner and then someone zips around a corner and just like tags him,
yeah,
and he dies, and it's the "I can't believe he just did that." because it's going against the machine, right?
Yeah.
If you're trying to go against someone with a very machine-like sense of play, where they're doing everything by the book and everything as efficiently as possible, you just throw a spanner in it.
Yeah.
And then occasionally that will work for you. And then the question is, after you've done that, what can you get from it? You know, because it's one thing to get a frag on Rapha by something that takes him by surprise, because he just didn't think you would do that, because he wouldn't do that. But then, how do you build something from that? You know, because you can get a frag, he'll just refrag and then, you know, respawn and see what happens next. But you need to be able to get that momentum, don't you?
And I feel like Effortless is probably one of the best players to do something like that. To just come out of nowhere super fast with the Ranger Orb when Rapha's not expecting it, with the Slash, using that Plasma Trail to get the speed boost around the corner and just stick it to the man. I really think that he has got a pretty good opportunity at maybe making some of these upsets happen, these he shouldn't have been able to do, that moments that you've all have seen in the past. But still, this is not a matchup that's in his favor, right?
Oh no. I don't want to sound super biased here. It's just previous results, and we're just looking at the two players head to head. It's going to be a hard match.
Yeah.
But Effortless knows that. Of course he does. You can't go up against Rapha in tournament and be like, oh, I wasn't expecting it to be that hard, man. Like everyone is going to be prepared for one of the best players on the planet, right?
Yeah.
And Effortless, he's been on quite the climb himself. He's had some great results. He's been able to take out some other players in this part that are extremely talented.
Right.
Just for a bit of clarity, we're waiting for admin to get us into the game, I believe. We're just waiting for the match to load in and get us started, which we should be doing soon. Sorry for the wait. Trust me, we want to watch the matches as well. And as soon as we get into the match, we will cut to it 100%.
Yeah. But either way, before that, all we can do is really speculate, right? There's not much more to talk about. We've hyped up Rapha.
We're running out of material.
Quickly.
What? What? What are you saying?
I've
got a mince pie here, look.
We can always pull another Christmas cracker, actually.
This is the lot. You know what? We're going to do it. This is the lot. No, we've got some back.
I didn't get to show off the spinny
let's
top
do that.
that we got. Here
so
you
this
go.
this was the prize that Flea got. It's a spinny top. Here, you can see it, look. Oh.
Yeah.
One more try. Ah, there we go.
Okay.
It's stuck.
It's stuck in the decorations.
It's a decoration now.
Beautiful.
It's a decoration. Let's do another one.
Absolutely.
Oh, you got a Christmas hat as well. Look. Yeah, a hat. We already got a hat on, so we can't.
No.
Right,
okay. All right.
On three. 3, 2, 1. Oh, nuts! I keep losing.
There we go. That's what.
Oh, we may as well just open it now.
Yeah, sure.
Well.
Why not?
A ruler. Look,
a ruler?
we got a ruler. Wow, that's so bad. Like, look, you. Oh, I broke it. Nice. There's a joke in here somewhere. A green hat.
Let's hear it.
That's on brand. We can probably just. Can we fit it? No, I don't think so. No, we can't. I'm gonna give it another go. There we go. Perfect. Beautiful. Mwah, beautiful. We got the joke in here, which is the last thing. Why did the turkey join the band?
Beats me.
Because it had the drumsticks. It's so bad. It's so bad. If anyone doesn't know what these contraptions are, it's a UK thing. Apparently, we didn't even realise until Flea turned up.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What are these, man?
I've seen them before. I've seen them before online, but I've never got to pull one myself.
They've got this stuff in it.
Yeah.
And you know.
Or little combs, things like that.
I totally almost just killed you with flying plastic. We're out of material now. That's it.
Yeah,
I was hoping we'd be in by that point, but
maybe a quick recap for players just tuning in, right? Just let me go over the previous games. So we started off Toxic versus Cypher, which ultimately was won by Cypher 2-1. Close game. It ended up going into the tiebreaker, the third and final map of the two, but Cypher ultimately ended up taking it home all the way. Following that, I see you're enjoying yourself with your little meat pie thingy.
Continue.
Then afterwards we had Genic versus Nosa, but oh my goodness, interrupted. The clock has run out. We are about to jump into our next match of the day. We've got Rapha, we've got Effortless, and we're starting this one off on Rapha's point of view, going at it as the Doomslayer.
Sorry, I literally had to just finish that mouthful of mince pie. For the record, it's not meat, it's mincemeat, which is a fruit mix. Either way,
apologies.
Relevant information aside, yeah, we're checking out Rapha first. who's just getting in and out so far, just trying to get that rocket on hand. And we see a pretty common tactic against Slash sometimes can be to just sit around and listen out for her. Effortless has been known a little bit in the past to kind of let his movement carry him a little bit too far forward sometimes, where he falls victim to traps and surprises. Rapha, definitely the kind of player that is not shy of doing that. Swaps immediately to the rocket. Bit of a turnaround, but it looks like this fight could be his, but no, the rocket lands and the pillar blocks the shot. That could have, by all accounts, been a 1-0 for Effortless, but Rapha coming in with the clutch.
There was like a moment there after the messy exchange before the teleporter that they both went through, and Effortless really realized, like, wait a minute, I'm the one who's in the lead right now. I came out on top. And just he chases after Rapha, and then he just takes rocket after rocket, and down he goes. But ultimately, with 7 points of health to spare, will get himself on the board. Explosive first minute.
When you're forced into a burst damage situation, I mean, Berserk isn't necessarily a terrible idea, especially if there's nowhere left to run, and it's kind of the highest opportunity you have to land damage. With 7 HP remaining, I mean, he wasn't far off, but unfortunately didn't quite work. Springs the trap on Rapha, but Rapha with the double jump round the corner. My man always prepared. Rapha is always prepared, and a beautiful rocket. Effortless, looking quite tender. Hits a rail, looks for a second one. Has to be nervous. Rapha getting tagged though. How about that?
Obviously not that easy to hit the Effortless on that small slash. The rocket just barely missing his face as Effortless makes his way around the map. And it's actually Rapha who was lowest coming out of that engagement. Effortless holding his own surprisingly well so far.
And then some.
Absolutely.
Doesn't stick around in the hole too long. He actually had the potential to hit a rail angle there. Yeah, Rapha hasn't been hitting 100% of these rails either, kind of giving Effortless that room to breathe, and Effortless more than happy to take it and punish him for it. But with, 60 HP and no armor, he has to be very careful. Rocket jump, getting him to safety for now, but we have to eye up Rapha's stack. It's very chunky combined, and he's just ready. He was waiting for that.
Perfect read. He just knew exactly what Effortless was going to go for, lined up the shot, and waited it out. Perfection. Not so much on that. Let's call it an improvised rocket jump right there. The LG is pretty brutal coming out of Effortless, and he still takes it.
He totally just got punished for that. That's the kind of accidental rocket jump where I don't think anyone was ready for Effortless to immediately swoop in and finish the job. It seemed like he was too far away. That's one way to tie things up, though. One thing Effortless has done a great job of so far is just the sheer level of punishment he's dishing out for these mistakes. Rapha, again, like hitting the pillar.
Damage.
There's some really uncharacteristic errors coming out from Rapha so far.
I'm very much liking what I'm seeing out of Effortless. When I saw in Twitch chat earlier that people were saying, Effortless, don't overthink, just hit your shots and go for it. And that's exactly what he's doing right now. He's taking that advice to heart. And right now, Rapha struggling to find a way in. Effortless has got a really nice rotation of the items. Heavy up in a second. Has got some time for Mega as well. And Rapha so far trying to do damage, trying to even things out a little bit. And it looks like he will actually successfully position himself on Mega next.
It's kind of from what you described, it sounds a little bit like a Twitch chat spirit bomb, doesn't it? Chat, lend Effortless your energy. Unfortunately, he totally just got obliterated right there.
Missed it by like an inch before going down. And yeah, Rapha's not gonna miss that shot. Taking the lead, 5-4, but ouch, that's gotta hurt. He just missed a Mega by like a millimeter. That's gotta, yeah. He's not gonna be happy about that one.
There's one thing Rapha is excellent at. It's establishing presence after a frag like that too. Just the speed at which Rapha is able to get in control is scary. He's looking to go in for the fight. Looking for some LG, swaps the SSG. Effortless's damage wasn't quite there in the final closing moments.
I think he ran out of LG ammo, had to switch to the machine gun, and that just wasn't enough to take down Rapha, who switched to the super shotgun for an extra burst of damage, using the Berserk to just get out safely. And that means they'll probably give up heavy to Effortless. Indeed, that's exactly what will happen. Here comes the slash. This should be Effortless's frag. Nice little flick. And here we go, Rapha down, Effortless just one frag behind, and he's in a good position to establish control right now. He's got the weapons, he's got the timing, he's got Mega, and now Heavy in 15 seconds.
He also didn't concede too much damage to make it so establishing presence after that fight is not so impossible. So now, he's got a chunky stack. Plasma Trail, Rapha stuck in it! That hurt a lot. A ton of damage coming through. Rapha going full speed ahead, almost had a trade. And it looked like Effortless was not prepared for him to be on top of his head. I don't think anyone would have been.
Yeah, I don't think Rapha was very prepared for that one either. That was a very strange maneuver. Oh, Effortless, gotta be careful with this. Careful. Oh, he is not, and again, he dies just a step away from the Mega.
He had that Mega in mind. He was looking for it. Wow, the starting machine gun doing more than enough damage to scare Effortless away. And he's being forced to retreat. Rapha doesn't have access to a railgun just yet, though. He needs to be able to collect that on the way if he wants to get those long-range shots as he's zipping around those corners. Good rail from Effortless. Wonderful choice, actually. Otherwise would have been pretty unsafe, but thanks to the teleporter being nearby, meant he had an escape option ready. And how about that, Flea? This has been nice and back and forth so far. Effortless has been hitting some tasty rails at the same time. That one unfortunately doesn't quite hit its mark. I'm
liking the use of the plasma trail, because you very often don't really see Slash players use it enough, in my opinion, and they very often just hang on to it for several minutes at a time. But Effortless has really just been using the trail effectively and frequently too. But right now he is trailing by 2 frags. Mega will be up in just a few seconds. He gives up position, probably because he didn't have a choice. Sticking around would have been a death sentence for sure. Oh, no. Yeah. Nothing you can do after something like that other than hope for a decent respawn, which he kind of gets. Beats Rapha. No, he actually didn't get the rockets. I thought he managed to steal them away. But unfortunately for him, Rapha right now is just, yeah, he's just extending the lead.
And definitely looks a lot like Rapha just had a poor start.
Yeah.
A lot of errors and mistakes were coming through. Errors that we're definitely not used to Rapha making. It took us a few minutes, a little bit of the old mouse shake, and this is going back into the Rapha that we're a lot more familiar with. His accuracy is a lot better, not really missing as many shots. Those odd little circumstances where he's kind of shooting into pillars and damaging himself, and that it's just not happening anymore. Which is going to shift gears for Effortless, unfortunately. He was going toe-to-toe at the very beginning, but this is starting to elude him.
I think Rapha is just doing such an excellent job right now, more so than in the beginning, of shutting down those bursts of aggression from Effortless. Because right there, Effortless was going onto the railgun, trying to do some damage down below, right, for heavy. But Rapha was ready for him. He just jumped onto rail first, using that double jump perfectly. Ooh. And then he just completely punished Effortless. So I really think that Rapha he's downloaded his opponent. He knows exactly what Effortless is trying to do to stay relevant in this fight for the last 2 minutes. And he's just shutting that down quickly. LG fight will be going Rapha's way in the end, though. Heavy is up for him as well.
Oh my word, that was a good rocket. But it's easy to look at, oh dear. It's easy to look at champions that can move around as fast as Slash can and feel like it's overwhelming. But in the oh my god.
Wow. This is just...
I'll get this sentence out if it kills me, I swear.
Perfectly baiting on the respawn as well. Rapha forcing out the position that he wanted his opponent to spawn in, and Effortless just kind of giving him exactly what he wanted by moving onto the LG. Perfect place from Rapha.
But you can just see the patience coming out from Rapha here, and that's making a big difference. Oh, shouts to the freeze gun in the winter uptake.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Show some more, Rapha. I don't think a lot of people have really seen it in all its beauty and glory just yet.
Freeze him. Slow him down. That's the solution.
Rapha right now knows that this is essentially impossible. 1 minute, 10 frags, just not happening. But Rapha is the kind of player who's he's gonna fight till the end. It doesn't matter one bit. And I think one of the best situations that we saw it was just in the final week leading up to the Italy tournament, Stage 1 finals. He was going up against the Hang. And if he had dropped like a map or two, he absolutely didn't need it. His position was secure. The Hang would have had a better seeding going into Italy, but Rapha just, like, he didn't give up anything, even though it's his teammate, even though it's his friend. He just plays the game until the end, and he won't stop, and just stick it to whoever he's up against.
I mean, that's just Rapha, isn't it, Flea? Yeah. Respect the ruthlessness.
The man's a champion. Effortless coming out with the whelp.
And it was a great start, but it's just, this has been the Rapha show from this point. But I was actually going to mention a few minutes ago, it's all about just the patience of Rapha. He's well aware that he's going up against a fast champion, and Effortless is also, you know, in that effect, a very fast-paced player. Rapha just spent that map just kind of sitting around and just listening out.
Yeah.
You know, he was comfortable with his stack, and when he felt like it was time to wait and make something happen, he would just kind of stick his ear on the ground and listen out for Effortless. And, you know, lo and behold, Effortless would eventually appear, and when he did, rapha's just ready to shoot the first shot.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a game of not being super overwhelmed by fast movement and just waiting for it to run its course and just making sure you're ready for the opening shot to begin with, and then business as usual after that.
Pretty much, once rapha gets going, there's so little that you can do against it, right? It very often seems to be going the exact same way. The start for him rarely is that convincing, but it's once the game gets going that rapha just really starts to build up momentum. He starts to get onto his own speed, his own pace that he loves to play at, and you see it constantly, and that's something that I feel like even when you're a player who's in the lead against rapha, you always feel like you're somehow still chasing, even though you're several frags in the lead, because he just builds up that speed over time. As we get into a few of the highlights, yeah, look at that. Those Effortless actually had a really good start, but then just it became the rapha show, as you said, like the LG on LG, and here we go, taking out rapha.
It just looked very good for Effortless.
Yeah.
In a lot of these replays, you can kind of see the mistakes that rapha was making at the same time. And the moment it was a game of just waiting for Effortless. I mean, there was a point where Effortless was kind of autopiloting. There was just this moment where, and it's something that we see a little bit with him in the movement. He's excellent and talented with the crouch slide and the fast champions. The issue is, when it starts to go not in his favor, that movement doesn't really sort of start to change.
Yeah.
That lack of change allows an opponent who's just being extremely patient to just let you run, like right there. It just allows you to run around corners and put yourself in situations where if they just hit their shots, you can't escape. And it's so, I can imagine it's so tempting with these fast champions sometimes to zip around corners all the time, and you feel like you're kind of free to do so. Against someone that's waiting for you, it's quite risky to go for that. And you know, it's a dominant map number one. There is still the opportunity for a 2-1. However, Effortless has to now win both maps in a row.
I can't help but wonder how things would have gone had Effortless been able to secure those 2 megas where he died like a step away from them. Things might have actually turned out different, because both of those situations are actually really still during important fights when they were, I think, 4-4 and then like 5-6 or something along those lines. So that could have changed the outcome potentially by a pretty significant margin. But yeah, rapha, too strong, building up momentum, and then at one point Effortless had no way to go. rapha just kept taking all the items, hitting all the shots. Effortless had no way of getting himself stacked up or even getting the weapons that he needed, and rapha just ruthlessly, mercilessly hammering his opponent into the ground.
It is this uncanny ability to always be able to come back no matter the circumstances when it comes to rapha. You know, rapha, he does not see a frag as a defeat, does he? He doesn't look at it and go, oh, I got fragged, well, now I've got to do this, now I've got to do that. He's always got some kind of mini objective in his mind, and sometimes even if he dies, but it still means he can accomplish that, he's not fussed. You know, whether it's an item or whether it's something that he's trying to take away from you, he's not the kind of player that kind of treats it as a play to not die 100% of the time. It's whenever he dies, you know that even while he's respawning and before he's loaded in, he's thinking so much about what he has to do now and what is now going to be available to him on spawn.
Yeah.
It's quite remarkable stuff, and there's this reason that even when he's winning, shouts that freeze ray again.
There we go.
He plays until the end all the time, when he wins and when he loses. No matter how far behind he might be, he still plays with the same level of heart and thought. And I think that must translate itself quite nicely for when you're winning, where just, you know, you just suffocate people, don't you?
Yeah, exactly so. And here we go, the first engagement. rapha actually suffering quite a bit. 2 points of health. Will get himself some more bubbles down there, though. Effortless actually being the first one to get a little bit of armor to work with. It looks like rapha will be able to maneuver himself onto the mega, and that obviously opens the map up to Effortless so he can take the armor.
I feel like we're going to see a massive difference between rapha and Avek's keels in this example. rapha with keel is not afraid to just blow all the grenades in one single fight. There is very little, I'll say, reservation about them, because they come back so quickly that he's not afraid to just pump out that damage when necessary.
No deaths just yet, and actually that's a decent amount of damage in the back. And so far we're really seeing rapha focus on the mega, Effortless focusing on the heavy. Again, some self-damage coming out of the Professor. I'm curious to see who will be able to make the first move, who will be able to do enough damage to fight for the opponent's item. So far, none of these opportunities have manifested yet, but Effortless has a bit of a stack advantage right now with all that extra armor. So it looks like he will be able to take the mega health as Rapha loops back around for Heavy. I've seen a lot of confrontations so far, but really neither player able to get himself a frag on the board.
I think both players are being aware of their escape routes. Yeah, very few opportunities so far. Have they been in a situation where it's, well, I can't survive, got to take the fight and try and survive it. They're both showing a lot of respect. I think in turn, it's the abilities they're having to show a lot of respect too. If you're Ranger, you have to respect a ton of the grenades. If you're a Keel, the orb is always a threat. And clearly right now, Effortless hasn't used it either. So far, they're going to be content just simply trading the Heavy and the Mega.
And that's one of the most impressive things about Rapha. He almost always has an escape route ready. There's no player who does it quite the way that he does, but he's just so smart, so collected, very rarely puts himself in a position where he doesn't feel like he can confidently get away and put himself into safety.
Preparation.
Absolutely. Oh, nice little bit of LG knocking his opponent back, and still 3 minutes in. Effortless being calm and collected because he knows, he's seen in the previous map what can happen once he starts giving up frags, and he definitely doesn't want to let that happen this time around.
Effortless using the Dire Orb as currency, using it as a tool that unlocks his ability to collect Mega. He didn't want Rapha to challenge it, he didn't want him to collect it, and he wanted to be like, I'm going to use this and I'm going to just sit on it and pick it up. What he's now having to worry about a little bit is that, kind of like now, now the orb is gone, Rapha has a lot of his ability ready to go and all of the ammo that he's sitting on. So it introduces quite a problem where it's, you're using it for one thing, yes, but now it's gone and he's got all of his utility available. You simply are at a disadvantage now when a fight breaks out. So Effortless has to be very careful. His Dire Orb is back, but that one Dire Orb being used allowed Rapha to just be that little bit more aggressive with where he positioned himself, and it led to a pretty fast frag afterwards too.
Rapha being extremely protective of the LG, the lightning gun so far, and this is one of the few maps where I feel like you can really deny weapons as well. Rapha just kind of holding down that center position, knowing that his opponent just doesn't have the LG yet, and the LG is one of the most impactful weapons, the most effective weapons against a bigger target like Keel. And still, Effortless has been alive for what, like 2 minutes? And he still hasn't been able to get the LG once, as far as I'm aware, and Rapha just doing an excellent job at continuously denying it because he knows, I'm a frag in the leads, the pressure's all on you.
Tags him with a bit of damage as he goes towards Mega for another time. Looks like Heavy should eventually be taken, looking to be an almost direct trade so far. Identical spawn times. Here come those grenades, the Dire Orb used to escape. Effortless doesn't pull the trigger on it, so he's able to evade Rapha temporarily. Rapha needs to get himself some rockets though. Looks like now he's going to move towards Heavy. Once again, see if the fight's going to break out. Rapha, he's emphasizing the high ground a lot in these fights. Finally jumps down, now Heavy's about to spawn. And the stack should be pretty significant here. Even if Effortless gets this Mega, which he's able to land on, Rapha has the high ground on him again. He's just constantly laying chase. And there should be a free frag. It's all about positioning. Effortless can't really run around without Rapha knowing about it.
He says, it's over, Effortless. I have the high ground, and that's exactly how he managed to extend his lead by another frag. Don't you try it, boy! But he sure did, and right now Effortless in a horrible position. Rapha, that's also something that you very rarely see people other than Rapha do. They will just sometimes completely be content with leaving a player they could probably frag alive. Because he knows if he pushes in, he takes a bad orb, maybe a bad rocket or a shotgun blast to the face, it can cripple him and ruin his control. So rather than risking it for something like that and having Effortless spawn on the opposite side of the map towards Heavy that was about to spawn, he's just like, you know what, you can stay there. I know you've got nowhere to really go to. You've got nothing to work with. I'm gonna collect the armors. And right now Effortless
even
is
after
just below him.
Even after all this time, it took an entire respawn cycle of the light for Effortless to finally be comfortable. And even then, Rapha goes, hello again.
Yep.
Sorry about that, mate. I was just kind of letting you take it. I hope that's not too rude.
And that is one of the reasons why Rapha is known as the Professor, one of the most intelligent and calculated players in the entire Quake Pro League. That's a nice little string of damage. Of course, there's no railgun on this map, so the heavy machine gun kind of replaces that weapon as your most consistent and reliable long-range tool.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Rock in a hard place right there. Effortless, no chance to survive. As the reward is even more ammo. The Mega, once again, Effortless gets a bit of an unfavorable spawn. He's got the rocket, sure, but there's not much else sitting around, especially seeing as Rapha has just starved him of some of these pickups. The light is all that remains, and you're not even allowed that.
My goodness, Rapha is just taking a lot of damage, actually, but will finish it off with the super shotgun. And the snowball has started running just like his beautiful new nail gun. Rapha is just extending the lead 7-0 with less than 3 minutes left to go. Effortless, what can you do?
With how things are going so far, it seems like not much. You need to stop this absolute train of momentum that Rapha's sitting on, which I think even that is easier said than done. He's consistently got more stack, he's got more ammo, more weapons. You need to somehow win one of those fights and then try and keep Rapha behind. But again, this is Rapha we're talking about. Keeping him behind is no easy feat either. And get frozen.
And Rapha was even trying to self-damage to just deny the small armor to his opponent. Didn't even need to, as Effortless goes down one more time. Rapha kind of keeping up nicely with the clock, you know? 6 frags, 6 minutes, 7 frags, 7 minutes, 8 frags, 8 minutes. But surely he's gonna want to add up some more during this 8th minute of the match. And that's exactly what he'll do. Rapha running away with it completely by now.
You know, I'm a little bit curious about that freeze ray. I call it freeze ray. I'm sure I saw it called the freeze ray yesterday. I could be totally wrong. Ice cannon, snowmobile, whatever it is.
Snowmobile, yeah.
It's not very noisy, is it?
No, it isn't.
Compared to some of the other nail weapons, it kind of goes... Surely that means it's, like, quieter.
I mean, one of the things that I remember Rapha talking about way back in the day is he doesn't use the plasma launcher skin for the nail gun because he feels like the plasma balls, the orbs, they're too big for the actual projectile, but right? So they're less accurate.
But for this, the orbs are quite small.
Yeah, maybe that's one of the reasons.
I would feel like the opposite effect, if you will.
Or maybe he's just really started caring about the Quake fashion these days and he wants to show off his skins.
Or he's just trying to celebrate the Christmas period.
I hope so. I would like to see some more players wear some Christmas skins for this broadcast. If anyone's watching right now that has yet to play...
You hear that? It's not a very loud weapon, is it?
You know, it indeed isn't. But if any player is still listening right now, please, if you've got one of the Christmas skins, put it on. Get in the mood. Join us in the festivities.
Yeah, we did it. Come on, guys.
Absolutely.
We put in the effort. Either way, this is, without question, shock horror, a map win for Rapha.
Yeah.
At least 11... That is very quiet.
That is
Sorry, I'm thinking out loud now.
Indeed. Effortless, can he put one frag on the board? He's got 15 seconds to work with. He's got the orb.
At this stage, I think Effortless just wants to get a frag so he can say you didn't 11-0 me. But it looks like right now, unfortunately for Effortless, not a single frag was obtained. And that's a dominant map win for Rapha, making it a 2-0 at least. Oh, no, actually, Rapha's wearing the Christmas hat. I didn't even realize that.
Beautiful.
His keel is wearing the very same hat that you're wearing, Flea.
We're kindred spirits, Rapha.
I wish we had not only just a scale bearer, because the scale bearers actually, they're wearing hats too, if you haven't noticed. But yeah, I mean, what can we say about that map? It was just Rapha doing what he does best. And he's so dangerous on Corrupted Keep. It just feels like you're not allowed to move. When you watch him play, it's just suffocation constantly.
And I mean, just the way he waits 3 minutes and 15 seconds for that first frag, that just shows how disciplined he is, right? Because he had opportunities before that to press it more aggressively, but he's just like, no, I know when I want to go for it, and I know I can get my opponent in that position too. I just need to move the chess pieces around just a little bit more and wait for that perfect time, and that's exactly what he did. I feel like the best way of describing a match like this is just dismantled. He just took his opponent apart consistently in every single way throughout the matchup.
and he leaves you with such little resources that when you finally feel like there's something available, guess what? Rapha's already there. And
Yeah.
he's waiting for you to take it. We just saw it there with the light. He already hit those preemptive nail shots and had the SSG ready for the combo, because it's like, I've taken everything else. The only thing, like even there too, it's like the only thing that's left for you to take is what I have allowed to exist, because I want you to think that it's safe to pick up.
Yeah, and that's how he got the first frag too, right? Just sitting around that small armor, effortless spots, it doesn't know that Rapha's around, and he drops down to get the resources, but Rapha's there waiting for him with that LG out at the ready, and then it all just went downhill from there.
Okay, so the final map, Blood Run.
Yep.
It's going to be an immediate change of pace, for sure. It's just the nature of Blood Run, isn't it? It's a lot slower, a lot more... not want to say the term more calculated, but it's a map that you can go in with a solid game plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the nature of the map. With how Rapha has been able to essentially keep Effortless on the edge of a string so far, he's had him at arm's reach, hasn't he? I think this map choice, it benefits Rapha. This is a thinking man's map, and Rapha has been thinking 10 steps ahead of Effortless the entire series. I feel like this could very, very well... Oh, no. Effortless, no.
Effortless, why
Have
did you
faith.
say lose badly in chat? My man.
Have faith, man.
I mean, he's got the stack advantage. Look at what you're going up against. A puny little Nyx. You could step on her and she'd be dead. Have fun, though. Okay, here we go. LG versus LG, but Rapha braves the spit. Also something we really haven't talked about, but Blood Run has been changed. It has been updated in the latest update. That top room around Secret with the top green armor, it's been changed. There's less bubbles around, the armor has been moved, it's not as much of a defensive fortress as it used to be, which can really change the dynamics of the map.
Alright, we'll see if that gets put into effect. I have no doubt it will be. But now Rapha doing what everyone does best. Have a lead and sit in the middle and listen out.
Excellent play from Effortless, actually. Rapha completely caught off guard. Has to pop the Ghost Walk. Effortless is just gonna chase him.
And there is the lack of health coming into full effect.
Yeah. Oh boy, but that was a lot of good exit damage at the end right there. And no! I liked what he was doing. He used the nail gun to get that like extra little boost, trying to get across faster, higher at an angle that his opponent wasn't expecting. But Rapha, he don't mess that way. He just will land the shot. Yeah.
Ooh, ding.
20 points of health though. These are pretty close matches in the end.
And we're actually already seeing the difference. With there being such less resources to collect in that room, Rapha gets the frag and he's extremely weak. He is straight out of that. Like, he is not interested in hanging around because you don't have as much stuff to pick up.
Used to be the case that was one of the most defendable positions out of any map on any, like in the entirety of Quake Champions.
No matter the game mode, right?
Yeah, no
just
matter
run
the
into
game
that area and you're pretty safe.
Absolutely.
Two there, stuff around here.
But right now the small armor has been moved right up there, so it's a lot more difficult to obtain. You can't just get around the corner, pick it up and just disappear. Gotta put yourself out there a bit more, and then of course some less health doesn't hurt either. There we go, Effortless. 3-2. Nice little frag. Oh, Rapha!
Oh no!
No! Okay, now it's gonna work.
Just about.
If Heavy hadn't been there, Rapha would have been dead. That spit would have absolutely been a death sentence. But the Heavy was there to slow down the decay of his health just long enough.
Not looking completely dire for Effortless so far. I think this stack difference, it is making a great deal of difference. However, he's got to watch out for those missed rails. Rapha just needs to sneeze on him with the stack that's remaining, and he's going to go down there. Caught with the wrong weapon out at the wrong time. Fair enough, he's point blank, but it is unfortunate all the same. There's now another fight. Rapha kind of clipping the wall. No direct source of damage. Effortless, he's just interested in getting out of there.
Yeah.
And, whoa, no. Could have been a lot more punishing for Rapha, but it kind of feels like he went through the teleporter just at the right time for Effortless to kind of miss the mark.
And again, Rapha surviving with just 36 points of health. Restacking fairly nicely though. Effortless, I hope he's still around to challenge for this Heavy, but again he just runs into the brick wall that is Rapha's LG on a target the size of Soar. Like, that's gonna hurt tremendously. And Effortless has to seed another major item. And right now, 4 frag difference. This is already becoming extremely difficult for Effortless, because once Rapha just shifts gear and goes to the reverse, he can play a very passive game as Nyx.
But this is not like your conventional blood run. Gets caught not checking the one corner, but it doesn't matter, and the acid is not going to have any effect in the blood pool. Remember that when you pick up health, it stops the acid ticking over time effect, so it's the worst place he could possibly get hit by the acid if you're in Effortless's shoes, but...
No.
No! Can't even have that! How many times is Rapha going to simply allow Effortless to collect something because he wants him to do it, and then he just springs the trap and annihilates him for doing it?
Yeah, Effortless a bit of a fumble on the movement right there. He couldn't get up in time. And Rapha just sticking around to 50 points of health. Effortless, are you gonna make a move on this? Nope. A little too late. Anyways, Rapha doesn't have the Ghost Hawk to work with, though. This could be the start of a comeback if Effortless can read him correctly and catch him out.
Less health to retreat upon. We're already seeing the changes. There's oh no,
What?
Rapha!
What?
No!
What?
What is going on? Oh, gauntlet out. I like your thinking. What is?
Okay.
Did we just enter the Matrix?
Like Rapha had some networking issues for a moment right there, and Effortless showing his kind side does not finish him off, even though he very well could have.
Good guy, Effortless.
Yeah, and Rapha throwing out the thank you as well. These players have a lot of respect for each other.
Oh,
that's clear.
Yeah, they've known each other for a very long time, even prior to Quake Pro League. But Rapha, now expect no mercy. However, I appreciate the gesture.
Yeah. Yeah, 4.5 minutes left, 6 frags. It's doable. It's doable, but on a map like Blood Run, it's not easy. Far from it.
The first half of this map has actually been very un-Blood Run-like. You know, there's been a lot of aggression coming out from Rapha. I think he's just so confident in how he's able to constantly read Effortless, but he misses the super shotgun blast. And he does get punished with a free frag. Effortless, not an amazing spawn if you're against Rapha there. He only needed the machine gun to just pepper that damage down. Has to go for the Mega, but it's a big risk indeed. Able to get out safely. A delicious rail and a second one. That's excellent right there.
Yeah. That way closing the gap 9-5. Went from a 6-point deficit to a 4-point deficit in the matter of moments. Now is the big question, is Rapha just going to start slowing things down? Oh.
Hits the rail again. Rapha, tender, forced to retreat. Rocket actually almost hitting its mark.
Yeah.
But as now, control goes back for another time. Things have definitely slowed down, and that's absolutely Rapha's doing. We know there's just over 3 minutes left on the clock, and we can never forget, this is Blood Run we're talking about. This is one of the absolute most defensive maps in the entire game. You can definitely play the defensive retreating-based meta where you just sit on your lead. And you sit around those teleporters or somewhere else, you listen out for when someone's nearby, and you just simply play that runaway game until the timer is done. However, if Effortless catches Rapha once, he's going to have to get the Ghost Walk out first, and that's going to be objective number 1, while at the same time trying not to lose frags. And this is an uphill battle. The Ghost Walk has been used, but the hourglasses have already been picked up, so less than 30 seconds, and that's going to be back. Effortless needs 5 frags to tie things up here. And, oh, good shot! Could, in fact, get a frag before the next Ghost Walk comes back. We'll have to see. Effortless has to be very careful.
Oh, no, he dies just a step away from the Mega. That was possibly his final opportunity to still have a shot at winning a single map against the reigning, or the top of the scoreboard right now, champion being Rapha.
I mean, it was even a good shot on the rail. It's just, it feels like Effortless had put all of his eggs into the basket of that rail actually killing, because hit rail or no hit rail, the downtime exists. There is a cooldown period between rail shots, and even if you hit the shot, they can still damage you during that time, and that's exactly what Rapha did. I let himself get hit, who cares? I want to kill you anyway.
Yeah. And at this point, I don't really think there's anything that Effortless can still realistically accomplish with 1 minute and 30 seconds left and an 8 frag deficit against Rapha of all people. He needs a miracle, and I just don't see it happening at this point anymore. And Rapha has shown earlier that he has no problems with slowing this down to a crawl when he was just waiting over at rockets earlier. He'll do that again the moment he feels like threatened in any way, shape, or form. He will just be like, you know what, I'm gonna wait over here, and I've got my Ghost Walk. It's gonna take you 20 seconds to find me. By the time you do, I can just run away. And at that point, there's just physically no possibility for you to make up enough frags.
And there's a lot of time Rapha can waste here. He's gonna use the Ghost Walk, but any other time in the map that could be maybe considered a mistake, but right now, who cares? He has so many frags to work with that effortless simply cannot come back. This has been extremely one-sided from start to finish. At no point did it really seem like effortless had an opportunity to take the lead, and Rapha has just displayed an exceptional amount of dominance today.
Yep, this is going to be our second 3-0 of the day after Nosfa versus G-Link earlier as well. Still effortless, especially the first map, right? The opening of the first map, it still really looked like he had a good shot. And same goes for the opening of Blood Run as well, but just there always comes this point when you're up against Rapha that things they get out of control and they just start snowballing and you get steamrolled.
And if you run out of steam against Rapha, it's almost a guaranteed loss the second that happens.
Yeah.
It is this element that he's consistently ready for any scenario, and no matter how far behind Rapha is, he will never give up and always, always, always have a plan, or many plans, depending on what the situation is, that if you are in that exact same situation and he is just screwed on, and he's just thinking about everything the way he does, I can't even imagine how it feels to be on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, effortless, he put in quite a bit of good effort, though I feel like he tried his best, really had some moments of brilliance where he was hitting a lot of good shots. He was really just taking Rapha by surprise when he absolutely wasn't ready for it. But ultimately, as you said, once Rapha gets that upper hand, he's like a shark who just smelled a lot of blood, and he's not going to let go. No way. And here we go, see, still at the start, effortless actually getting pretty close, tying things up, but that's where it all started going wrong.
And the snowball effect hit hard and fast, didn't it?
Oh, wow.
That was just rude right there.
Were those two gauntlets? Like, bup, bup? Or was it just one? It was too fast.
With the momentum of Sorlag, actually, either side probably wouldn't have surprised me too much. But
yeah.
Just the way every frag turns out here for Rapha.
Yeah.
He's almost always the first one that springs the trap. The exception being here where effortless did manage to surprise Rapha. The stack just wasn't there. This was just an unfortunate situation, and again, forcing him to think he has to collect something and just being ready for the angle with the rocket.
And that gauntlet too, that just shows so much experience on Rapha's end because he positioned himself perfectly, right? Just far enough back not to get fragged by the person exiting the teleporter, but also just far enough back that his opponent, effortless, would essentially just jump over him. Would just jump on his head, he gives you a little bit of a boost from below with the gauntlet, and you just go flying, and you have no idea where you are anymore. You just sear past the platform, and then you just get finished off brutally and quickly. So Rapha, incredible plays from an incredible player.
Absolutely. And if you're in effortless's shoes, it's just one of those situations where everyone's got to go through that at some point in Quake Pro League.
Yeah.
You know, the round robin format means everyone has to face Rapha one of the weeks. When that time is your time, you have to just give it your best, don't you? But it's not always going to be easy, and sometimes it'll go like that. It's just what Rapha has proven to us in 2 stages of Quake Pro League, and I mean, come on, a whole year before this one. There's a reason that Rapha dominated Duel for an entire year.
There's a reason he's on the top of the scoreboard by a pretty significant margin now as well, and that's because he just keeps stringing along these 3-0 victories, because this, again today, that's 16 points for Rapha, just cementing his lead basically out of reach of any other player.
Okay, so all things considered, we're going to be going on with some more games. I believe we're going to be going in for a quick break, setting up series number 6. So thanks very much for sticking with us so far. This is week number 5 of the Quake Pro League. Don't go anywhere.